any mediation necessary to correct a diseased state of being.
Obviously, Americans are least of any people in the world afraid of drugs, because there's a drugstore on every corner. So if they are so afraid of mind-expanding drugs, obviously it's the mind expansion that they are afraid of. And we are made afraid of mind expansion by precisely the people who have a vested interest in our minds being quite narrow.
What's happening is these chemicals have the capacity to expand consciousness in ways that we're just not accustomed to thinking. So it's opening up the envelope of consciousness into new territories for us to think about and to try to imagine.
In many respects, the war on drugs was fueled by the fears of Tim Leary and what he had to say, and the surging use of psychedelics by youth during the 1960s.
The young generation with these states had many dimensions. That, one of it was certainly that aesthetic aspect, just the beautiful display, but there was also an element of tremendous freedom, sort of disinhibition, all the sort of cultural restrictions being kind of a Dionysian element, breaking into consciousness. And then I think even if people did not have specific healing intention, that something within them felt there was a kind of a therapeutic potential, that you could heal. You could heal emotionally, you could heal psychosomatically. And then, of course, there was that other dimension, which is the opening of the spiritual aspects of life.
Native peoples around the world have developed structures and rituals which optimize safety. And there's a lot to be learned. There's a lot to be learned about how critical set and setting is to outcome. Also, intention, why individuals undertaking these kinds of experiences. And with some substances, I think it's very important that young people understand that these are not recreational compounds. They're very serious. They're considered sacred medicines by many peoples around the world.
In the United States of America, 300,000 U.S. citizens ingest a Schedule I substance legally as their sacrament. This is literally the non-drug use of peyote. It's a religious sacrament, it's not a drug.
The plant hallucinogens in particular have profound implications for the treatment of addictive disorders. There's a good deal of interest in the West African plant Iboga. Personally, I believe ayahuasca might prove to be the ideal plant concoction.
One that is in the works is to offer MDMA to people who are with advanced stage cancer and be given a prognosis of less than 12 months of remaining life. If it helps, as I think it might, and cuts down on anxiety and may actually cut down on the need for pain medications, which means that they're less sedated, they're more alert, they have more ability to be cognitively with it. That's really important for those individuals and their family.
For the last 4 years, I've been working to develop a protocol for MDMA-assisted psychotherapy for post-traumatic stress disorder.
This paradigm was not acceptable 35, 40, 45 years ago. Are we at that point in time now where we will be able, in a sanctioned manner, to move this field forward?
At least get rid of the fear and find a setting within which this can be done safely and carefully, thoughtfully.
We had many powerful technologies of consciousness. We know very easily how to alter consciousness, how to go to different states, but bridging that gap between what we find there and our everyday reality and everyday life, that has been the challenge. People go there, find love, find compassion, find transformation, but then later they go to their everyday life and the usual patterns come back.
This is not a black and white thing. all medicines can have good applications and have side effects and be dangerous in the wrong circumstance.
Feeling that we are less safe than we actually are, feeling threatened on some level and feeling that we have to be in control, in charge. This can be seen from the individual dimension to the collective dimension. What was happening between the United States and the Soviet Union, where we produced so many atomic missiles that 1% of it would be used, it would be all over. We want to be so safe that we actually create a very unsafe world. So a lot of this kind of inauthentic tendencies, the tendency to constantly have more of what we have, need to double, triple the gross national product as something that's guaranteed a good living standard is just a fallacy. The countries that have achieved that have achieved a high level of economic standard, don't necessarily benefit from it emotionally. Actually, there's more violence, there's more suicide, there's more alcoholism, addiction, divorce, and so on. So there is no connection, direct connection between economic achievement and sense of well-being. We're all in it together, and we are kind of synergistically looking for answers in a way that involves, a lot of the deeper wisdom that comes from self-exploration, self-understanding.